Howdy, all you delicious people! Another episode of 7 Days to Die Reasonably. Yeah. The next two episodes are going to be very much me making some progress, but then at the end of the day, there is going to be a little bit of backpedaling, a tiny bit. But a tiny bit meaning just because ultimately you kind of keep kind of needing to go and go and go, hoping you can get a lot of good resources, and then ultimately you don't realize, I don't know, just what time of the days they are, and then you realize that, oh crap, it's nighttime. It's nighttime. The zombies are tending to go a little cray cray. So, yeah. So I end up pretty much just kind of having a little bit more of threats going on within these episodes. And that is going to be showcased here because I'm going to be scavenging a lot more. Um, the places that I'm going to be scavenging are the closest places to my house, to my home, which I kind of eventually find. Most of these kind of tapings will probably be like the best of whatever I find kind of stuff, or just locations that I've scavenged. So realize that this is going to be like a compilation of a thing that I did. But ultimately, this time here I found this big old hotel with a pool at the back of it, ultimately knowing full well that like these places are pretty good to stay at because a lot of times, and I mean a lot of times, you can get overheated a lot. You can get to where you're 120 some odd degrees, and I'm just like, God, I need to come up with some kind of pool equivalent. So when I'm consistently out and about, like I can always find water somewhere because it's such a deserted island, seemingly where I'm located. So, anyways, going on to the episode, let's get on with what goes on. Um, Again, this place would seem like a hospital, but to me, it just kind of um, seemed like a bunch of like random things. Kind of mostly just clothing that I got in here, but um, I don't know. Eventually, you're gonna see me eventually get some things that I've desperately wanted or desperately needed for a very long time. While off camera, I have collected some things. I've crafted some stuff. I've crafted wood bows. But I think here is where I'm gonna get to start to really start collecting a lot of ammo and a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna quickly run out of spaces to consistently scavenge for things. So I ultimately have to go all the way back to my home to drop off stuff a lot, and you're probably gonna see those transitions where I have to consistently transition. Um, yeah, I used to on here. I used to do what I would do is I would like run up to the zombie, hunt them, like clunk them on the head, and then run back. But ultimately, for some reason, you realistically can't do that anymore. I have to literally jump backwards to avoid getting hit by a zombie, which is kind of dumb. But jumping does help a lot. You're gonna find out in the episodes of this that jumping helps out a lot more than you would think. Um, but I do get more different weapons than just the wooden club. Um, so yeah. Whew, but man, these episodes were actually very stressful to record because a lot of issues like happen while I'm just kind of like trying to go through my way of getting things. But you're gonna see that this taping is gonna be heavily edited to where I ultimately am not showing this the waiting of time of which I break into things. So luckily you guys are gonna see that. Otherwise, you're gonna get a long time of seeing things, of just kind of waiting around for. Yeah, this is taking like 30 minutes to just break into this thing, and then you have to ultimately consistently come up with resources and stuff like that. I don't know what all that zombie noise is coming from, but ultimately I'm gonna find out what it is. Cause yeah, I was like, I'm still ultimately not looking at this place definitely as like a, like, yeah, it has a pool, that's awesome, but I think that this would take way too much time to fortify. It takes way too much time. Actually, off camera, went through this door. So there wasn't really much to get in through there. Because I realized it as like, oh my god, it just leads into this room, the room that I was already at. But yeah, so we're gonna have this torch, so that way we can mostly see most of the time. But eventually, I'm hoping to eventually have on here a mining helmet to where ultimately lighting comes a lot easier to where you can easily see. And hopefully, maybe sometime soon, we're gonna see me have a mining helmet. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy this game, and ultimately, it's just like I know that it might be a very slow game, or I know it's kind of like me scavenging or whatever. Um, Plus, I'm sure it's a lot more fun with more people, because ultimately, it's just like yeah, you quickly just like yeah, I have all my stuff full, and now I gotta get rid of stuff that I don't think I need, which is gonna happen quite frequently. And then plus it sucks too, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I found these nice clothes that I'm eventually going to wear, but then like ultimately it's just like, well, yeah, that's cool to want to wear clothes, but ultimately it's just like, well, um, that shirt or that whatever isn't that durable compared to the one I already have. So, yeah, but the most annoying thing about this game is I'm going to start getting heat stroke, and I'm going to get heat stroke a lot. So yeah, definitely it's in like I definitely need to eventually start to get like iron armor, or I definitely need to start to get into more greener pastures, meaning I need to get good green grass to ultimately um, start getting some red flowers. Once I get red flowers, I can get red tea, and ultimately, red tea can cool my body down and can ultimately get my wellness up as well. Because I want to get my wellness all the way up back to 100. And eventually, within the recordings, you're going to see that that is a much more challenging task than there was before, because I'll explain that as we go along. Um, I've never seen health so hard to build up. It's just like, man, I remember before I was like always at full health, like all the time. It just seems like I have to eat, and I have to eat like consistently. But ultimately, I'm going to start grinding away on adding points to my character, because ultimately, I think that's a real deciding factor within the settings. Is just like, well, you have to have like, you got to eat. You got to eat a lot. Because ultimately, some of the points that you can put onto your character can be you not wanting to drink so much water or needing to eat so much, and eventually. Um, And yeah, that back piece there that's just see through, it's just a shower. It's an interesting looking shower. But yeah, I really enjoy this kind of area, this desert area as a starter place. But I don't know if I'm gonna stay here forever, because there's a lot of times where there's a better places to better fortify. Within the probably future episodes, because I kind of did some stuff off camera. I added some kind of fortification to the auto parts home that I'm at right now. I kind of put in some much more durable things, because ultimately my house at a certain portion of one night ended up getting like zombies throughout it. Like there was no way to, because ultimately I didn't place spikes, which was stupid of me, around my home or nothing like that. I didn't put any defensive measures on my home, so that was dumb. But I don't have time to really defend, like put defenses up, like especially right now where um, everything is going so quickly. Meaning everything is just kind of severely going like man, I need food now, I need water, how do I get that? And that's like all that matters to me, until eventually I can get points onto my character to where I can slow that down. And then, but yeah, a lot of these choices are very like difficult to just like, well, I want to keep this and I want to keep that, but then ultimately like you want to keep everything, but then again it's just like F it. Like eventually I know I'm gonna get a ton of resources eventually while I keep scavenging, so um I can't keep things forever. I just kind of have to really go with the essentials. I honestly don't know if I really want to keep clothing on me. It's probably better off if I had like an armor just thrown on my body rather than just clothes. Because clothes are just eventually something that, like, yeah, you can make your body much more durable, but you get heat stroke a lot from putting them on. So it's just like I end up spending the entire playthrough like basically naked anyways, without any of these clothing on, because I can't use any of it, because it's just like a thing to eventually just take off, because so it's yeah. But I remember when some of the pieces like the hats and the sunglasses and the bandanas or whatever um would have the ability to make you a much cooler, as far as temperature goes, character. But now it's like it doesn't seem like that's a factor anymore, which I'm like, great. I'm like, man, here's where like that stuff could have really factored into like what I was doing. But now it's just like, well, sucks to you. Yeah. Yeah, there's two of them. And of course, right at the perfect time, my my weapon broke. Right as I was supposed to defend myself, my weapon broke. And I'm almost dead. I'm basically almost dead. Um, my health was, I think, at like 2 when. So I barely got out of there alive. But um, there's gonna be times, folks, when simple mistakes like that are really going to cost me. Especially when it comes down to like waiting to the very last minute to do things or decide on things, or ultimately just go, well, I think I can just do this like a little bit longer. I think I'll be fine. And then, like, on my way home or on my way to just deciding to come back to where I was, yeah, I got a big old F you to the game where it was just like, yeah, just don't do that. What you're doing, don't do it, because that's a stupid move. Um, so I paid for that. Um, Hence me dropping things. But yeah, I hope you guys like this series, because I've already like pre-taped so many things, and it just seems like every day I want to go in and play this game. So um whether people like it or not, I don't know. I'm just kind of going through and just going, yeah, I really want to play this again. So that's kind of where I'm at, because I'm just tired of um I'm kind of tired of mobile games. I've kind of like worn out of them, so I'm just kind of pre-recording some stuff off console and doing commentary afterwards. Um, But yeah, I've seen so many different people play this game so many different ways, and to see the real difference in gameplay is kind of interesting. Um, a lot of people tend to probably play more Naves game, which is the map where I'm at, um, and ultimately, yeah, I'm kind of waypointing some places, especially if it's certain locales, so that way I can like go, okay, here's a place with a pool, or here's a place that has a lot of water nearby, because eventually I'm gonna consistently run out of water all the time. um, it's just gonna be a consistent problem. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to. Um, but yeah, like I said again, it's gonna get to the point where some of this stuff is just gonna kind of cut in and out, just because I didn't want to show the showcasing of like every single thing. Like I kind of want to do like fast travels at some points. Man, it was good to find. It's good to find these little bags here placed all over the world, because ultimately, you can find pretty good weapons. You're probably gonna see in a lot of the future. I'm actually gonna actually find some pretty decent amount of stuff. Um, and so there's a lot of stuff that I consistently just throw away because I just there's some stuff I absolutely will not use, like oil, or um, there's some metals that I tend to just throw off to the side, or um, bullet shell casings or gunpowder, because ultimately I'm like, I don't want to make weapons. Like ultimately you're gonna see that like people are easily like I'm easily going to be able to find like a ton of ammo, or a ton of stuff just lying, like I've seen it a lot of times where I'll get like a ton of just arrows just lying around, um, which happens quite frequently. It just depends on um, which place you want to go to, and that's an iron shovel right there. Great. That just so happened to be just right by my house, and I didn't even realize it. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna quickly like showcase, of course, as per usual. Like, yeah, I'm getting rid of all of my stuff. This is all the stuff that I've accumulated over time. Um, so that way people can see like what all I have, what all the goods that I have. Um, Definitely, I am gonna craft a bone shift, because ultimately I know I need to eventually get more animal meat, because eventually animal meat can add to wellness, as well as wellness meaning add to your health points. So if you're a person like me that eventually tends to die within this game, then you can cook. I tend to cook charred meat, which visually just looks really good. But I tend to cook that because it doesn't really need any resources to be able to cook in the fire. And yeah, it adds to my wellness, which means health points. So I can eventually get my health points back up to eventually get to 100. It kind of gets to a point where when I really start to get into a much more greener, meaning healthy environment, um, I can really start getting a lot, and I mean a lot of just like, I can get a lot of animals, I can get a lot of um, red tea, and then ultimately, like, so I've kind of been searching all the way around this map to just find some kind of greener environments. Um, I kind of have been going into these kind of ashy looking biomes, places, these kind of ashy looking lands that look like they're on fire. There's a lot of radiated parts of land as well, which I'm gonna try to avoid as much as possible. But Um, you kind of really aren't sure exactly um, where those are until you kind of just keep on going in the map, and then you're like, oh yeah, radiation place. I got to avoid this, otherwise I'm going to die. Um, I love the snow biome, but man, is that place really difficult. Difficult because the zombies are so overpowered. As you can kind of see here, there's a sun symbol down there, and it says 105. So I jumped into this pool here to get my temperature down because I have a fever of 101. No, I do not have the beer virus, but um, it's just because it gets effing hot in this area. I'd rather go to the snow section of this game because ultimately I can just throw on clothes and that'd be a lot easier. Um, Being overheated is a lot more challenging than just when you're cold throwing clothes on. Um, it seems like when we get to the if we ever actually get to the snow area, because like every time I think I have to go through the ash area to to get to greener pastures to eventually get into the snow biome. So ultimately, I'm gonna have to make that forcible journey um, to get through there because every place that I've kind of really gone through and kind of walked through, a lot of it is all just yeah. This is the area that I was at that I was telling that I kind of went through, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I've already been in this area. Um, but yeah, so ultimately, I'm gonna want to go to get through to the snow biome or the winter section of this game because ultimately the lumberjack zombies that are there are very difficult, but a lot of the stuff there is much more better resources than any other portion of the game. Um, like yeah, you can get a pretty decent amount of stuff just by um, kind of consistently playing, but you're gonna realize that like when I do eventually get some snow items, they're gonna be much more beneficial than um, anywhere else. As far as like, especially like clothing, or especially just kind of weapons or stuff like that, they're kind of much more stronger. But eventually, I'd love to get a mini bike. But kind of when I've gotten a mini bike, airdrop. When I've gotten a mini bike, like there was one time where I actually built a mini bike and got it going, whatever. And I was like, oh, yay, I got a mini bike. And yeah, so I went through the snow biome and I was like, oh, okay, great. I got a mini bike and I can, yeah. So I ended up going into a section and when I came back, which was not a very far distance away, my mini bike was completely gone. I don't have a mini bike yet because ultimately I don't have the book for it, but ultimately I'm gonna. I've started to accumulate parts for it. I've accumulated car batteries. I have two of those. I have a wrench, or I'm starting to get wrenches which can get car parts, like an engine or um, a couple of other different things. I think I have a handlebar for the mini bike, so but the most thing is eventually just getting that book. Ultimately, there's portions of Navas game that have like bookstores and stuff like that, and saloons and stuff like that, and I want to check those out because I think I'm going to get a boatload of resources from those areas. But it just takes time to eventually figure out where exactly I am at and where exactly I can go. Oh, okay, well, I know where I am now and I can get all these things. So yeah, I got some uh, first aids from those, which is a great benefactual thing because ultimately with my health, slowly but surely building up health. Um, uh, First aids are really beneficial because ultimately you can quickly kind of build those up fairly quickly. Um, these campsites here kind of really don't have much a lot of the times, unless there's mines all around them. Those are much more beneficial, but eventually, every once in a while, you can kind of collect a thing here and there. So I kind of go into them, even though they're not always very effective. But a lot of times, you kind of have to dance around. Um, you kind of have to dance around because there's a lot of zombies within this area. Yeah, I get uh, empty can and a car part, or not a car part, a gun part. Yeah, taste it. You know she did. Um, yeah, but I hope you guys like this as a series because I'm just gonna kind of keep chugging along at this series because ultimately I'm probably gonna eventually move. I'm not gonna probably be at that auto parts area forever because ultimately I just need to find a better setting. Of course, now it is kind of funny when I'm looking for a cook pot and my God, this is taking forever to find a cook pot. But then once you finally do find a cook pot, the first time you find it, then all of a sudden you see cook pots like everywhere. But yeah, get to freaking get a stew going. Ultimately, I'm a person that doesn't like to use, which is bizarre to say, I don't like to use guns in this game. Um, I would much rather use like crossbows or arrows. I just think to me that I can. Speaking of which, um, I just find them much more effective to use. Um, but I think more and more in this series, like I just kind of get much more lazy, and I'm just like, yeah, how about I just use a gun? Like how about I just shooty bang bang? Because ultimately I'm just kind of it's to the point where I'm just lazy. Yeah. Definitely need to get bandages with the cross on there because ultimately there's a lot of times when you're gonna fight a zombie, you're gonna bleed out. You're just gonna bleed out, and then you're like, oh crap, I don't have I don't have a first health bandage. Oh my god, did I not? Oh my god, I didn't see. Oh no, there's a tree trunk thing there that I completely missed. Oh please tell me. Oh no, please. Oh, realizing it now. Those tree trunks tend to have a lot of really good stuff in it, so I must have missed it. Yeah, I must have missed it. Well, if anything, if I see that again, I'll probably just go back to it and probably get that. What's in that tree trunk? There's a lot of good stuff within that, so a lot of the times, every once in a while, you find some really good stuff. While, especially in those snow sections, but because those things are everywhere in this snow section, but um, you kind of come across those in kind of greener pastures, meaning kind of like a normal foresty green grass area. I'm kind of still just stuck in this desert area because it's just like, God, I want to get out of this desert area so badly because ultimately it's like once you finally get out of here, you can you can cut down trees more, resources become easier, and stuff along those lines. It just becomes a lot easier. So ultimately, again, I'm not going to stay at that auto parts there place forever because ultimately, like I'm going to go to a place where you can much more easily farm. I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up, but it's going to be a place that is not like consistently at threat. But I don't think I'm gonna try as much as I'm gonna try as much as possible to not just go into any of the other places that I had previously. There's a lot of fun places within this game to go, but um, like, and I would love to just be able to spend time getting and going and having fun sections to be a home, but ultimately it takes so effing long to kind of kill a lot of zombies to for sections that consistently have things popping up. Um, on previous episodes and stuff that I could say, I've seen there being a lot of like movie theaters within this game. There's adult themed. There's strip clubs. There's daycare centers. There's a football stadium or some kind of stadium of some kind, which I haven't seen. I haven't been to a football stadium. I'd love to go there. A previous episode, I was in a prison, but ultimately that was so like coincidental that I just so happened to spawn like basically right near a prison. It wasn't like me going out of my way to find it. It was just like, oh my god, this is here. But and it seems like a lot of the times, if I even could like, hey, what's the best places to have a base? Like ultimately, like I can go and kind of like on a map, like longitude and latitude, try to find that location on the map, and it doesn't come up. So it's like, man, like I know that this place is here, but ultimately I just can't get to it. Like there's a lot of interesting or awesome looking bases, but I just can't get to them because ultimately, like, whenever I've searched stuff on longitude and latitude, where people will tell me, "Yeah, go here and find this," I'm like, I can't find it. Like it takes me forever, and I still like cannot find it. It takes so long. Um, yeah, that's what happens when like, and plus you don't want to take hours upon hours to like try to find certain locations. I just don't have that kind of time to just blow on just like, okay, well, I'm just going to spend hours upon hours upon hours just kind of like going through the entire map of this to try to find every solitary thing. But I found a lot of stuff via the consistent times that I've played, but I just wish that there was a, yeah. This section here, kind of these garage door openers. Probably the next time, after the next, probably maybe not the recording, this recording or next recording, but the recording after that, I kind of built some more substantial kind of like blocker esque like there's a car battery. Um, that was a great find. I was like, yay, car battery. Because I'm starting to find a lot more better items that'll be used in future but a lot of stuff is a lot of stuff is just throwaway items. Like there's coffee beans, which I never effing use. There's stuff to make bullets for, which ultimately I do not use because ultimately I can consistently find areas that have bullets. And I'm only one person, so I don't run out of bullets very frequently because I don't use guns very frequently. I ultimately come up with arrows, which are much easier to craft, and eventually, because I love using like crossbows in this game as well. I'm not just gonna use a wooden bow this entire time, but ultimately, yeah, eventually I want to just be able to get some real items, some real resources that I can really get pretty far in the game. Because ultimately, a lot of the stuff that I have to do right now is just kind of like, yeah, I'm not finding really much of anything that I can really and truly use. Or there's some stuff that I did see, but I'm like, I'm going to avoid this because there's certain places that are honestly just death traps. Like I've seen this place where it's like a junkyard, and it has all this like metal fencing all around it. I'm like, oh my god, that would be an amazing place to just like put up as a defense area. But the only problem is there's a ton of zombies there. There's actual like zombie dogs that are there, and like yeah. So ultimately, yeah, that's kind of the issue about that. Is just slow slow issues for slow progress being made. But yeah, we're gonna kind of eventually conclude within the next episode the scavenging of this area, because I can only make these videos like so long, especially with like PS4s. You can only make videos like only an hour, and then you have to upload them. It's like ultimately I could make like an entire playlist and kind of make a very long video, but I ultimately don't want to do that either. And plus, this game is really hard to do as like it's probably better off to do as a live stream. But then if you do it as a live stream, it is kind of boring because ultimately it's just kind of like okay, you're breaking through all this stuff, and hopefully you never have to open a safe in your life because that's going to take like 30 years off of your life because you're just cling, 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 and it's like 2,000 power or whatever. And yeah, it's just some of these parts, like, it's probably much more beneficial to edit how long it takes because otherwise, like, there's a good 10 to 20 minutes of a video that you don't need to see of people just going cling, 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 or me going cling, 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 and it's just like, man, this is gonna take a while. Um, I would love it to actually be able to have like just time to just like go to wherever my home is gonna be and defend the crap out of it. But ultimately, um, like the auto parts place that I'm at right now, I just don't see it as a place that I'm gonna be there forever. So I put work into it just because I have nothing better to do. But ultimately, I know that I'm not gonna be there forever because ultimately it's just kind of like well like I'm gonna use this as a just kind of like a temporary home, but eventually I'm gonna move into um, something that I can much more get to a point where I have like fencing over my entire home to where even before um, like people are gonna try to get to me, they're gonna have to get to like a wall of defense before they can even get to me, which ultimately um, they're going to not get very far because ultimately I'm going to put like a ton of spikes in front of my house, whatever. I always have this kind of like big grandiose plan, but those plans tend to be very hard to execute because ultimately it takes a very long time to put stuff up. And yeah, there's not enough time in the game to not only scavenge for stuff that you need, um, but yeah, maybe later on in the game, I'm gonna get a lot more resources. I'm gonna be able to get stuff a lot faster. Maybe I'll get a mini bike, and then eventually I'll be able to get through things a lot quicker. But ultimately, it's gonna be a time or two. I think that's why I've kind of started and stopped this series because ultimately how slow it is. So I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.